Hi there, Elizabeth Johnston here of Own Your Creativity, your story and creativity coach. Had a bit of a blip there because some pop-up distracted me. Okay, so today is day 12 of my 14-day sprint leading up to my birthday on October 28th. And today I'm going to be talking about trees. Well, it's a well-known fact that spending time in nature has wonderful de-stressing properties and benefits. And in fact, in Japan, they actually mandate that everybody has to go into nature periodically to rejuvenate. And I was walking early this morning. I try to walk every day, at least 30 minutes, preferably 90 minutes. And today was the first day that I actually got in my walk really early in the day. Up until about a couple of months ago, that's what I did. I would get up. I usually wake up just because, or, just naturally, between 5 and 6 a.m. in the morning. And I do some meditation. And then I put on my running shoes and off I go for my walk. And sometimes it's as early as 5:30 in the morning or 6 a.m. in the morning that I'm out there for my walk. And I love getting my walks in early because it's so quiet and you can appreciate the nature a lot more easily. And there's these lovely, big, huge trees in my area. It's a suburban area, but it's really lovely. Oh, we have 2 people watching live. Hello there. Post a comment in Facebook if you're watching me on Facebook and say hi, and then I can say hello back to you. So there's these amazing trees in and around where I live on the residential streets here, and it was dark when I left, but by the time I was coming back, the sunrise light was coming up, and it had rained overnight, and the way that the early morning light was reflecting off of the damp leaves was so beautiful. In the fall, when the leaves are turning and it's damp, the vibrancy of those dying leaves is just spectacular in the early morning with the moisture, and it just brings it out even more. And it was just breathtaking, and like, what a way to start your day. It was so beautiful. And it just reminded me of that I really got to do this for myself. I really got to give myself this gift of taking my walks early in the morning. When I first started taking those walks, I didn't think that I'd be able to do it. And my Ayurvedic doctor, she was the one who prescribed these walks, 90 minutes a day. And I thought, oh my goodness, 90 minutes. How am I going to do that? There's not enough time in the day to fit in 90 minutes of a walk, plus my meditation on top of that. But there's tons of time. And but the other part was, how am I going to manage when it gets so really, really, really cold here? But I managed. I mean, I've even walked in snowstorms and blizzards. It's like, because my Ayurvedic doctor said, doesn't matter what the weather is, you've got to go out, bundle up, whatever you need to do, go out there for your walk. And I did, and I do. But yeah, today I'm talking about trees, and the last couple of days I've been taking these pictures of the turning leaves in the area. And again, it just stops me in my tracks, and I have to take a picture, and I'm going to be sharing some of that on Facebook. It's so uplifting and beautiful. And I have this book, The Wisdom of Trees. Mysteries, Magic, and Medicine by Jane Gifford, and it's a British book, and it follows the Celtic calendar, and it talks about the tree that represents each of the months in the Celtic calendar. And I like to every month go in and read up on what this month's tree is, and what's the wisdom of that tree or plant that we can glean. And we're at the tail end of October, and in the Celtic calendar is ivy or gort, and that's from September 30th to October 27th. So 2 more days for this month in the Celtic calendar. And entwining ivy is the that month's plant or tree. So it talks about mystical associations, and also, just, the facts of how it grows and that kind of stuff. And then the lessons and the healing that each of these plants or trees afford us. And so I just like to read you a little bit of what it says here. So, lesson of the ivy. Oops, here we go. Lesson of the ivy. Ivy reminds us of the movement of the heavens and the way this is reflected on earth. It has the ability to bind all things together. It can wander freely, linking tree to tree, or form dense thickets that block out the light and restrict passage. Ivy brings shelter or overwhelming darkness and reminds us that where there is life, there is also death. Ivy represents the wandering of the soul in its search for enlightenment, and it carries a warning to be sure of the direction of your desires so that you avoid being ensnared by them. True progress is made, however, when all of the lessons of the preceding trees have been linked together with ivy in such a way that the light can still enter and no limb need break. And so ivy's entwining habit represents the movement of the heavenly bodies and the understanding of their influence on the affairs of humankind. And so I was thinking about that, and how this is a wonderful book that if you are following the Celtic calendar right from the beginning, and journaling and ruminating on the meaning of those trees each month, and then walking amongst nature and having mindful walks, just being aware of what's around you, and sometimes I feel like I can hear the trees, speaking. I don't necessarily know what they're saying, but sometimes I just feel like that they have a language, and certainly they can communicate with each other. I don't know if you've ever watched any of those documentaries about, things like the altruism of trees. It's so amazing the way that they will help other trees, and smaller trees, if they sense that they need some nutrients and they have enough, and they're redirecting some of their abundance. And it's quite amazing that this life of trees and how they exist in a community and how they support each other. And I remember one of my walks, it was really cold, and there was lots of snow, and I heard this big crack, and there wasn't any lightning. There wasn't heavy ice or anything. It was just cold, and but I heard this big crack, and clearly it was one of the trees, but it didn't seem like that a limb was broken or anything, and I just thought, oh, maybe it's stretching, maybe it's cracking its knuckles or something, but but yeah, you know, that when we think about trees and we think about the lessons of trees and our place in the world, you know, alongside nature and how we're part of nature, I think that's one of the things that trees can inspire in us, you know, a sense of our place in the world, our place in the universe. And I think that it's so important for entrepreneurs to have a bigger picture. I think it's important for us to have, you know, our vision, to understand what we want to be, how we want to show up, how we want to serve. But I also think that we need to think bigger than just human to human. I think that it's so important for us to recognize that we have a place in the bigger picture here of Earth, and that it isn't all about us. I think that, you know, a lot of us are very androcentric and think that, you know, the whole universe is all about us. um, and I think that it's, you know, an entwining energy, you know, just like the ivy is entwining, and that entwining tells us something about the bigger picture of how we are entwined with nature. Nature is entwined with us, and and it can be a really respectful relationship, but only if we shift our paradigm from one of it's all about us. And I have another book here. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. And no, where did I put it? Oh yeah, here it is. Found it. Found it. Okay. And this other book is so interesting. It's called Patriarchy as a Conceptual Trap. And that's actually one of the first books that I read that really gave me an understanding of, you know, shifting our sense of the world from just all about us humans to, you know, incorporating everything on the planet. And so, you know, um, doing business without an appreciation of our place in the bigger picture, I think leaves out a huge part of our humanity as well. And when we start realizing that it isn't all just about us, uh, I think that that's when we start taking care of nature, and maybe that becomes part of our values in our business and how we show up. And maybe, you know, there are charities that or nonprofit organizations that we support once we wake up to the fact that we are entwined with everything on earth, and that we are stewards of the earth, and we need to not just you know, dig into it for resources for our own survival, but figure out ways that we can uh, you know, leave more um, for the regrowth than we're taking. And, you know, growing up, you know, I was always told that if you borrow something, return it in better condition, or do something, you know, special, to bring it back in a better state than it was when you borrowed it. And you know, I think it'd be great if we had more of a sense of that when we were consuming, and when we interact with nature, to be more cognizant of that. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think that, you know, it says that we can change the world if we change ourselves. And so if you are changing yourself to be more expansive and have a bigger worldview and shift your paradigm so that it includes more than just, human beings, that's going to have a ripple effect. That's going to make a difference. And this book, Patriarchy as a Conceptual Trout, the other thing I really loved about it is that it's written very accessibly. She's also incorporates a lot of cartoons and drawings, and it's not a heavy book at all. It's very accessible and visual and powerful. It's a short book, and it really made an impression on me, and until this day. So she had this really great picture in here, which I can't find right now, but just showed how things can change when you shift your paradigm. And so that's what I would just like to leave you with is walking in nature. Yes, it has restorative benefits for us, but in being restored, in feeling better as a result of our forays into nature, Cialdini's 7 principles of persuasion, and one of them is reciprocity. And so, nature just gives us these gifts without asking anything in return. But with the law of reciprocity, hopefully it engenders in us to, leave the environment somehow better than when we traipsed through it, and maybe incorporate that into our business model as well. And that connects to, beauty in the entrepreneur, which is what I was talking about yesterday. And I think it's a fascinating topic and a really interesting way of figuring out who you want to be and how you want to show up in the world, and how you want to help not just yourself and your clients, but the world. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I am going to be back tomorrow. And oh yes, so I don't know if it was yesterday's podcast or a couple of days ago, I was asking, what do you think I should do on the actual day of my birthday, which will be going live for 15 days. And I have come up with something, and I'm so excited to share it. So stay tuned. And tomorrow I'm going to talk a little more about the events leading up to my birthday day on Saturday. And until then, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.